Hey everybody, welcome back to IP Farms. Well, we're in the shop today working on the service truck, fighting the mosquitoes for some reason. Lord, they're everywhere, so if you see me swatting them, it's not bees, it's mosquitoes. Real quick, I'm going to say up front, this video is probably going to be a whole lot of babbling and talking and explaining the situation. You know how I can get long-winded, but that's the only real way I can let you guys know what happened. Start off with, after I contacted Ford, got everything started the process, they wanted some detailed pictures, more information on the fire itself. It went to the engineering department. They could not rule out that the cruise control speed sensor, blah, 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 did not cause the fire. I mean, it's common sense right here, but anyway, I was tickled with that. So, there was part of me that wanted to fight it a little bit harder than I did, but we negotiated back and forth, and what was settled on was they basically just totaled the truck in their eyes and paid me a good Kelley Blue Book value for it. And I retain ownership of the truck, no salvage title or anything, and basically all it is just Ford relinquishing their responsibility due to the fire, you know, blah, blah, blah. I had to sign a release. I'm not worried about that. I'll put it this way, somebody was looking after me, and thank you guys in the comments that, you know, suggested getting in touch with them and doing something about it. My wife pushed me hard because I'll say that I'll be able to replace all the stuff that it needs with mostly OEM Motorcraft stuff, and pay myself well over $100 an hour labor to do the work and still put money in my pocket. So I cannot complain actually at all. I think it's a blessing because there are a few things I did not get to do to the truck that still needs to be done, just basically because I ran out of money when I put it on the road. So we'll have a little bit extra to do that. So it really worked out because the fire could have been a whole lot worse, and I don't know that I would have been able to get anything else other than what they gave me for it, and then I would have, you know, I wouldn't have been able to put it back on the road for that amount of money. So we're just tearing everything apart. I've got the wiring harness on order, power steering reservoir, carbon canister. I've got the air box off the other truck, few miscellaneous hoses here, the inner fender, and of course I've got the other hood off the other service truck as well. Kicked myself in the butt because I had all this. I had that whole wiring harness that I had to pay a couple $100 for on the other truck, you know, same exact harness, but had the carbon canister on it. But you know, it is what it is. That's water under the bridge at this point. So I'll show you a few things. I'm not going to probably bring you along much of working on it. I'm just tearing it apart today. The parts are still probably a week or so out. So let me show you a couple of the up close melted ordeals here since we're in the shop in better light, and we'll go from there. All right guys, real quick, we'll show you a little up close now that I've got a couple of pieces off of it. I've already got the carbon canister off of it in the air box. So you can see the carnage there a little up close. This is the pigtail, of course, we talked about before. Plugs in right there, so this is the culprit, and this plug has 12 volts constant power on it. This sensor gets brake fluid in, it shorts out, and then these wires, and you can see there's not a stick of insulation left on those whatsoever. So that's where it started. Thank goodness it didn't burn any of the engine harness over here. Mainly the bad place in the harness here, and this is the mass airflow wires, was just where the inner fender started catching fire and the flames were coming up. You can see the reservoir is pretty crusty. The hoses, I've got those to replace. This, I was very lucky because Ford's run transmission fluid in their power steering unit, and when I took this cap off that day, it was bubbling, so it was almost to the boil point. So if it had ignited, it would have been all over with. I've got one, I think I've showed you this already, but one bad connector right here. That actually is on the truck side, but that goes to the transmission, and I actually have that other wiring harness for off the other truck, so if I need to I can replace that. But all these 4 connectors up here will come with a new harness, and it runs out of there, coming up out of the computer, big wire, all this up here, and then goes up and over the firewall all the way over the starter solenoid over there, and headlights and everything. So it's basically the whole engine bay wiring harness. But okay guys, a little update on this video for the service truck repair. We were able to score a used wiring harness at the junkyard. That is not available through Ford. If it was, it would be over $1,400 for that bundle of wires. It's got the fuse block, everything in it. Main connectors that go in the computer and the firewall, and this one actually has the delete system, or the recall fix that Ford did with this non-serviceable fuse, they're calling it. that plugs in, so if something happens that shorts out. So of course that'll not get hooked back up, but we got that. I had one ordered online and had some issues with it, and I'm still not to the bottom of that situation yet. I'll keep you updated. We got the used power steering reservoir in, the carbon canister there below it, the power steering reservoir return hose. Got a few miscellaneous pieces here that I need for the canister. This fitting is not available anywhere. Ford discontinued it, and you can't buy it aftermarket online, so we got that at the junkyard. This goes in the canister for the vent hose. I'll show you in a second. This is a block off plate that goes in the canister, and then I went ahead and just pulled out the sensor. This is what causes everything right here. This is one that's not burnt. Basically, brake fluid goes in the back of it and leaks down, gets in, shorts these wires out. So I'm just going to use this for a gauge to put a plug in the reservoir. Went ahead and pulled that off while I was there. Let's see my shadow in there. The inner fender, got that from Ford. It's inside there, and I think that's it. I haven't done anything else to the truck since the last clip on the video. So right there's that hose. This is the vent line from the tank that goes up to the canister. So all I got left to do is get that little piece of hose there and start putting everything back together. It's not going to be fun. The truck I pulled the harness off of was missing the fenders and the whole front end and the engine and everything. So it took us about an hour to get all the connections undone and the harness out. So this ought to be real fun. I'm not looking forward to it at all. But anyway, thought I would give you a little update. I'll bring you back on this one when we get started on it. Alright guys, we're just about to take the last plugs loose here. This is the main plug for the computer, and then the 3 main plugs that go inside that connect everything from the chassis to the inside. So I'll speed this up. You have to watch me sit here and undo all these, and then well, you know what, I'll just cut it off and I'll bring you back for the monumental moment when we take everything loose and pull this burnt harness out. Alright, put you on a little bit better angle, I think. Let's see how much I forgot to take loose. I'm sure it'll be something. What a nightmare. Well guys, here it is. There's the inner fender out. All this massive snake of wires. Doesn't look as bad once it's out, but show you right here. Like I said, I probably could have spliced some of this together. I just cut these here. Of course, there's the culprit. The plug's just disintegrated. That's where the fire started, from the cruise control sending unit. But it melted some of this over here, so you know, instead of taking a chance on it, it didn't melt the wires, but it melted the loom. So it's just easier just to pull everything out. It really wasn't as bad as what I thought. I ended up getting the fuse block from the junkyard, which I hadn't planned on doing, but I'm kind of glad I did, because it has melted this here and got that wire hot, which is the main battery wire, and I didn't have to mess with pulling any of those wires loose from the fuse block. So we just got everything. Show you one more plug in here, and we might just call this one good. Okay guys, one last thing. Here is that one connector that I've showed you several times. This melted kind of. Praise the Lord, that actually goes to the transmission. It's the transmission wiring harness. That's the only one I saved off the other truck. So we'll be able to swap that out and get that connector back. I don't think it's did any damage, but they've definitely been hot. So that's everything. as far as pulling it loose, I've got to take the power steering reservoir. I've got it loose. I just got to take it off. I got to drain it and get all the hoses loose, and we can start putting back, I think. So wasn't quite as bad as what I thought. All right, we're gonna wrap this one up and call it good. Just a little mini series here on the F-250 fire from start to finish, basically from the videos, the day it burned, what transpired, what my thought process was, what happened with Ford when I got in touch with them. Got you some parts, talked about that a little bit, some tear down today. I know you guys aren't following the wrench turning videos, but you know, we've got a lot of time invested in the service truck here, and I definitely need to get it back on the road. So if you got any questions or anything, don't hesitate dropping it down in the comments or hit me up on email. I'm on Facebook. There was a lot of these parts that were discontinued through Ford Motor Company. I looked up with a good junkyard that I have local that deals with these trucks, but I've got some part numbers that I tracked down on some of the stuff that you can buy aftermarket, and some of it that you're just going to have to go to the junkyard and get. But like I said, any questions or anything, definitely hit me up. We're blessed and we're lucky that it wasn't any worse than it turned out to be. The job itself wasn't too bad. Not having the best afternoon, so I ranted a little bit about a couple things while ago. I apologize for that, but we'll just wrap it up with this. And once we get it back going and on the road, I'll get you a clip or two of it. But pretty much now it's just putting the parts back together, swapping the hood over, changing that other transmission harness, and should be good to go. So thank you everybody for continuing to follow on the journey with me here. You know, winter time's coming, so there's going to be a lot more shop projects and things that I've put off throughout the year. So hopefully you enjoy that. If you don't, I totally understand. But really appreciate everything you do, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. Until next time, thank you.